Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today, sitting down to talk about a lot of Redfall, a little bit of Starfield. Ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, I think that Bethesda's got a lot of cleaning up to do. You see, the people feel lied to, and when they do what's happening right now over on the Redfall launch trailer, which is expressing their dismay via the like to dislike bar. We don't want to see that, Bethesda. We want to see you thrive. We want to see you do well. But when the people feel lied to, this is the type of reaction you're going to get. Now, as we approach the launch of Redfall, we're just a couple of days away with the game coming out on May 2nd. There's been a lot of negative PR for this game, unfortunately. Now, some, to a degree, overblown. You know, when it rains, it pours over at Xbox. We're familiar with that in the ecosystem. But also, people feel Bethesda has been disingenuous with the 30 FPS story and how it was originally supposed to be 60 frames. We have official proof of that now in two forms, but also with Denovo being thrown in, we're also going to talk about, on top of this, what's going on with the PC specs for the game and how PC Gamer has picked up something mighty suspect about the information Bethesda has provided us, and plenty more. That Redfall feels like it's crawling to launch. It definitely reeks of a game coming in hot, if my experience has taught me anything. Now, meanwhile, on the Starfield front, what we're going to talk about is actually not negative at all, but I feel like it fit the theme of this video, where there is some type of disingenuous vibe, and there is a website claiming that there is a Starfield open beta, and because it's the internet, people are falling for it. Excellent. We love to see that. Anyway, we're going to be debunking that here in today's video. So we got a lot to talk about. If you're new here, you're into Bethesda news, information, day one reviews. We got plenty of that type of stuff on the way. Please consider subscribing. Thank you so much for some of your time. And with that, let's begin at the top with this 60 frames conversation.
But first, a word from our sponsor.
This video is brought to you by Brilliant.org. Brilliant.org is the best way to learn math and computer science interactively. That's because Brilliant has thousands of lessons, from foundational and advanced math to AI, data science, neural networks, and more, with new lessons added monthly. I speak as a college graduate. I have an associate's degree. When you leave college, there's that period of time where you go, oh, finally, I don't got to learn anymore. And you'll notice over the years, as you stop reading, you stop engaging with learning material and challenging your brain, that you start to dull a little bit. And I say that as someone who's experienced that feeling. So Brilliant has been a great way for me to engage my mind, where I'm learning about things just for the fascination of learning. Trust me, as you get older, there will be that renewed, like, I want to just learn again. So for me, messing around with capacitors and learning how technology works was actually really cool. So if that sounds great to you and you want to try everything Brilliant has to offer free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/MrMattyPlays or click on the link in the description. The first 200 of you will get 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscription. So when we learned that Redfall was no longer to be 60 frames until a future update on series consoles, the internet exploded. That was it. The end of the world had occurred and we had just lived through it. Congratulations. Welcome, survivor. Now, what we've learned since then is that Bethesda definitely was planning to launch this game with 60 frames, and something happened behind closed doors that we can only speculate about. But how do we confirm this information? Well, it's in two places. Number one, my buddy Jez Corden posted on his personal Twitter account a leaked case for Redfall, where on the back you can see this is exactly the copy you're going to get when you buy the game physically at launch, if you do. And you'll see on the bottom left corner there, right beneath 4K Ultra HD, it says 60 frames per second. Meanwhile, there is a tag that says 60 FPS performance mode, not available at launch by the retailer. Now, here's where it gets a little bit more interesting, because the internet is the internet, so everything is archived. You know, the digital footprint just continues to fascinate everyone. I don't know why. Even Xbox seems to not realize, oh, we can't get away with this. Wow. So there's actually an archive of, on the Xbox store, Redfall's listing, and you'll see here on the right side of the screen, right next to Xbox cross-platform co-op, is boom, 60 frames per second for series consoles listed, as well as PC. Meanwhile, if you go there now, you'll see in this new screenshot that it is no longer listed. And so now the people feel lied to. You were marketing it in trailers. It was running at 60 frames. Our eyes tell us that. You had listings saying 60 frames, and now it's all gone, but you can't erase the physical copy. You just can't. So there it is. What's going on, Bethesda, is the big question fans are asking, and people feel like there's something disingenuous here. If I were to wager a guess, this seems like sloppy play on all fronts, and I don't think Bethesda was truly trying to intentionally mislead people. Now, hold your horses. You're like, Matty, did you just defend this? No, let's just think for a moment here, because in my opinion, what I think happened here is Arcane communicated internally to Xbox and Bethesda, we are going to hit 60 frames. We can do this thing. And that's why you were seeing it in trailers marketed as 60 frames. And at least on PC, I can say I experienced it at 60 frames. And they maybe assumed internally, you know what? Consoles too, right? Of course it's consoles. Come on, Redfall. Of course you're going to do 60 frames on consoles. And as they got deeper into the development cycle, the reality set in, hey, we're not really going to be able to hit that 60 frames. We will, but can we get a little delay? And now we know, with us just being days away from Redfall's release, it's pretty much firmly locked in unless something like a true phenomenon happens and it gets delayed, which I don't think it will. And this was the prediction I made when the 30 FPS news dropped. I said Redfall is going to ride its way into launch because I feel like that's a mandate internally from Xbox. I mean, the ecosystem kind of speaks for itself when you take a look at what's going on in the Xbox Activision deal, when you look at the lacking of exclusives outside of Minecraft Legends and Hi-Fi Rush. Now it seems like there's a delay for Forza Motorsport. We do have a confirmed small delay in Starfield now this September. Things got to get going. And I feel like, unfortunately, Redfall is a product of the system where it's just time to release. You got your delay at the end of last year, and now you got to come out. 60 FPS or not, you're coming out. And I feel like that puts Arcane in a sticky position because you see the tweet they posted saying they're going to have 60 frames at some point after launch. I think a window of time certainly wouldn't have hurt them with that announcement. It may have even some people's tempers out. But to my original point, I don't think this was Bethesda trying to pull a fast one. It's obviously not smart, and we've seen how it's blown up in their face, and I'm curious if it's reflected in the actual player count. But to me, this reads more like a miscommunication between Arcane and the marketing team in what the development realities actually were. And this is the problem with AAA development because it's a long chain of communication and only so much information gets through. So that is my read of the situation there. But here's where it starts to get a little nastier because we were already concerned about performance on series consoles, and now we're learning about Denovo being incorporated into the PC version of Redfall. Obviously, this is problematic because this will impact the performance of Redfall on PC. And what's interesting is also with Ghostwire Tokyo on PC, it now has Denovo too. So this is something that Xbox fans in general are not pleased with, Bethesda fans in general aren't pleased with, gamers aren't pleased with. So now there's this concern heading into the PC launch with Redfall. Okay, well, it's the performance guaranteed to be good here. And it's even more fishy based off what Games Radar had picked up that I wanted to highlight in this video because it's an interesting observation that could be a little bit of, you know, we're all doom scrolling right now when it comes to Redfall season. So it may not be as bad as it looks, but it's definitely good food for thought here as they post an article. Redfall's PC system requirements revealed, but they're lacking a pretty big detail. And I apologize. Earlier I said Games Radar, this is PC Gamer. So they highlight in this article that the PC specs for Deathloop clearly laid out what the settings were for and what kind of frame rate and image quality you'd be getting. Here you see Ultra 4K specs for 4K 60 and what would be recommended for that, as well as the recommended specs to get 1080p 60 in high settings, right? Meanwhile, if you go over to Redfall and you look at the bite back on PC hardware specifications, you'll see it's a minimum, recommended, and ultra specs layout. But there's no targeted performance, there's no targeted image quality at all. Just, hey, if you want to run the game in these types of settings and this is what you got, that's all they have for you. Now, I think this could be looking a little bit too deep into the situation, to be quite honest, but it is certainly something worth being aware of. And that's why I wanted to point it out, because knowledge is power, right? It's one thing if we're acting on it, we're getting all hyped and amped up and all crazy over it. But it's another thing to just know and be aware, because I think what we lack in the games industry is reasoning behind the things that happen. I think people would be much more understanding about the things that happen, and gamers wouldn't be labeled as psychopaths if we got more than the standard set of reasoning, or less of the, you know, hey, if it's going to be 30 frames, can you just break down why? Was there like a snafu in the communication line? Like what happened there? But it's more like, yeah, anyway, moving on. And it's this ostrich-like moment of burying your head in the sand. And that frustrates gamers, and it turns them against you, and that anger just snowballs. So I feel like some of these were definitely in Bethesda's control. I truly do believe with the 30 to 60 frames marketing that there was some level of miscommunication there and some development realities coming in a bit too hot, where what it looks like with Redfall, to me, the feeling is like this game needed a delay. And I'll be curious to find out once it's out, once we're all playing it, reviews are out and all that stuff, what's actually going on in the scene with Redfall, because I think this is going to be a really interesting conversation. You know, just to see people's thoughts and just commentate on them. I think it's going to be a really interesting time, and especially heading into the Xbox Bethesda showcase this year. I talked about morale in our video yesterday with the Xbox Activision deal, how it can be lowering with what's going on with the Activision deal, and it's looking a little dark right now. And then if Redfall kind of misses, and Minecraft Legends I thought was great, but its reviews across critics was pretty middling, which was surprising to me. I just worry for some of the morale heading into that showcase. So we'll see, but a number of things you should definitely be aware of when it comes to the Redfall front. Meanwhile, on the Starfield front, something a little bit more peculiar. Now, I don't know who fell for this, and I don't know how someone Googled this, but it turns out if you actually went and Googled for a little bit, Starfield Open Beta that you can play now, there was one that was listed at the top of the Google searches. Now, Games Radar had covered this, saying, if I go to Google right now and type in Starfield Open Beta, the top result would have me believe I can hop in and play the big Bethesda RPG that doesn't come out for another 4 months and change. Sadly, this is a lie. There is no Starfield Open Beta, not yet anyway. You'll see here when I search it up, no longer is that the case, which is good, because it's written here that when you originally searched it up, it says, don't miss out on this exciting adventure. Play now. Enjoy action with your friends. Open world. Reads the description under a sponsored Google search result that promises you can, quote, play Starfield now, end quote. And yes, the S in Starfield is lowercase here. And no, Starfield co-op doesn't exist despite what this very shady Google result suggests. Our pals at PC Gamer were tipped off to this obvious scam. The website propagating this lie is called bizongrow.com, and you definitely shouldn't go there. If you do go click on it, it's Starfield Open Beta scam link, you'll be redirected to starfield.com, cleverly coded with an accented E in the URL. At first I thought that was a mark on my screen, by the way, I'm not going to front. There you'll find a super sketchy looking demo button, which if clicked will download an executable file to your PC that you'll be sad to learn isn't really a Starfield beta and is definitely a pile of malware. I just thought this was crazy that, number one, it even exists, by the way, but the fact that people were downloading it, man. When has Bethesda Game Studios ever done a beta, let alone for a single player game? Okay, I know they had the break it early test application for 76, a very clearly online game, but it's been said from the start, Starfield is a single player game. Why do we think a beta is happening for Starfield? Who fell for this, man? But I just wanted to make sure people were aware. I mean, I think it's like getting one of those spam junk emails where just the English is broken up. Like, let's read what was here again. It says, don't miss out on this exciting adventure. Play now. Enjoy action with your friends. Open world. It's not even a complete sentence. That's unbelievable. But somehow people fall for it. I don't get it, man. Like, when I get those junk emails, I'm like, yeah, clearly fake. Maybe it's something with age. You know, sometimes my dad will come in the room and be like, Matt, hey, what's up, man? Is this legit? I was like, no, it's obviously fake. So who knows? But I just wanted to make sure we clear the air here when it comes to Starfield scams. And I think the fact that this is even getting coverage just shows how hungry people are for some type of Starfield news. And we won't have to wait long. Again, Developer Direct is coming up soon. And as I predicted, it looks like, you know, as we enter May, we'll find out if it comes to fruition, whether or not Bethesda's going to do like an Into the Starfield or a Constellation Questions, just to butter us up a little bit before stepping into the pocket. But we'll see. I'm personally feeling like they're just going to go complete silence on that, but we'll see in due time. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's what's going on with Redfall. That's what's going on with Starfield. Thank you so much for your time in this, I will admit, somewhat negative news update, but I think, again, information is power, so do with it what you will. But with that, I leave you with the news, and now I'm looking forward to seeing your thoughts down below, so fire away. What do you think about what's going on with Redfall? What do you think about what's going on with Starfield's open beta? Fire away down below. And with that, take excellent care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next video. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the hell out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.